Hey there, year 8s. In this example, I'm going to convert the following fractions to decimals. And this one is relatively easier. Technically, the best way to do it, especially with harder fractions, you literally read what you see. You see, what you have here is you're saying, I've got 239 in part A, and I'm dividing. That symbol here actually just means divide. So I'm going to be dividing it by 100. Now, there is a short method back in primary school you might have learned. When you're dividing fractions, you can actually move the decimal points back by the number of multiple tens or number of zeros. So you've got 2 zeros, and a quick way of thinking about it is you can go back 1, 2 decimal places when you're dividing, and when you're timesing, then you move to the right because it makes the place values larger. So this would technically give you the answer of 2.39 if that's the way, if you would like to use that method. Alternatively, you can use the long division. You can go 100. How many hundreds fit into 239? And then you would say something like it fits in twice, right? So it fits in 2 times. And the remainder of 39. So then decimal, how do you continue to work it out? You add on another 0, and then how many hundreds fit into 390 now? You'd say it fits in 3 times, and then that there's a remainder of 90 left over. So then how many hundreds fit in 90? You can't, so that's why you put in another 0, and you say how many hundreds fit into 900 now, and it fits in 9 times. So you get 2.39. Okay, so that's another way of doing it, or you can do the hopping of the decimal places. Technically, the reason why that works is because of our number system. It's based on the idea that for every unit, if you have 10 of these units, that equals to 110. If you have 10 of these tens, then it equals to 100. So when you end up multiplying or dividing anything by multiples of 10, you're just simply moving up and down the place value scale, the place value scale. So if you start off with 239, the 2 is in the hundreds, 3 is in the tens, and 9 is in the units. When you divide by 100, essentially, you're saying that you're going to move these units 2 place values back because you're getting it smaller, right? You're making it smaller. So the units now become, instead of tenths, it moves another place value, which is hundredths. That's why the 9 ends up at the hundredths position. And the 3, which is currently in the tens position, moves 2 units back. So it moves 1, 2, so it ends up in the tenths position. That's why 3 is in the tenths position. And then 2 is in the hundredths position at the moment. So when you divide it by 2 groups of 10, because 100 is the same thing as saying 10 times 10. So there's 2 groups of 10, and since we know every time, every unit is only a difference of 1 group of 10, you're essentially moving 2 place values backwards. So that's why the hundreds then move 2 spots back and it becomes tens and then units. That's why you end up, the 2 now is in the units position. Okay, so that's the reasoning why you can just simply do the hops, and that seems to work. But I like to usually understand why it works. Once you understand it, you can do the shortcut method. But if you don't understand it, that's okay. You can still work with the mathematics still and just memorize and go. But you know me, I'm all about really understanding the mathematics as opposed to memorizing it. Now let's have a look at 9/25. There are 2 ways to do this. Again, you can do how many of these 25s fit into 9, and that will change it to decimals, because that's essentially what you're saying. You're essentially saying what 9 divided by 25 is. So I'm saying how many 25s fit into 9. Well, we can do the calculations here. 25 fits in 9, 0 times. So put a dot, carry on another decimal place, and now I've got 90 of these tenths. And I simply ask how many 25 fits into 90. Well, I know 25, 50, 75. So that's 3 times. And then another 25 will make it 100. So it fits in 3 times, remainder 15. So I got a remainder 15. I'm going to carry the 15 over to the next digit. And remember, you can keep going. So this is 150 now. that 15 carries with the 0 because 25 gets into 93 times, but remainder of 15. So I carry the 15 to the next 0, and that makes it 150. So how many 25s fit into 150? And you can count your fingers or multiples of 25, but I know that fits in 6 times. Okay, so it fits in 6 times to make 150. So the answer technically is 0.36. If that method is too confusing, or like you're not really strong with your division skills, an alternative method, which doesn't always work, but this works for this particular case, is you can try to convert it to a fraction out of 100, because we knew in the previous example, when you're out of 100, it's actually really easy to divide 100 when it's multiples of 10. So here, I can convert using equivalent fractions by multiplying 25 by 4, because I know 4 gross of 25 will give me 100. But keeping an equivalent, I need to multiply the top by 4 as well. And this gives me 36 hundredths. So 9 over 25 is actually equivalent to 36 over 100. And if I do that, I'm just going to keep it in black actually, just to make it consistent. Then I can now say 36 over 100 is the same thing as saying 36 divided by 100. And we know there are 2 zeros, meaning I'm going to move 2 place values back, because this is 2 groups of 10. So 2 place values back, the 6, which is a units position, moving 2 place values back will end up in the hundredths position. So that's why you can think of it as it's moving back twice, and the decimal point now is over here. So the answer is 0. And the 6 is in the hundredths position, and the 3 is now, instead of in the tens position, it is now in the tenths position. Okay, so that's the other method that you can go through. You can convert it into hundredths, and that allows you to make it easier to divide or times. Okay, but the true method is if you get a fraction that you don't know or you can't convert to hundredths, the only way to do it is to do long division. Okay, or short division. So for example, if I gave you 3 sevens, see, sevens cannot be converted into something like 100. So the only way is you actually have to work out how many sevens fit into 3. And if you can do that, you're able to convert fractions to decimals. Okay.